First side.
Alba on offense, in play!
The dogs are out.
Aber ich weiß noch nicht. Okay, and third time is a charm, hopefully, for my first commentary game at the Elite Invite this year. This game is Alba versus Bologna, and this is, as I've said, my third attempt to get my sound working, so apologies if you've been in silence for the first 8 minutes of this game, but hopefully you've not missed any of the action, as at least the video has been working. Alba started this game on offense, and there was one turnover each. Bologna got the first break, and now Bologna are looking here for their second break of the game. Just some quick information on these teams. This is Alba's cross field shot. Attempted greatest, just out of bounds. But this is Alba's first competitive tournament of the year, possibly their first game of the season. Speaking with their coach, Leo Micklem, yesterday, they've said that this year they're focusing more on domestic tournaments and they're looking to reduce costs. This is a slightly more development tournament for them. They're missing a number of their main handlers, but they are, in terms of results, they are considering the ranking and keeping it close. Top 6 is what he said would be considered a success. And obviously, as a team that has consistently been coming in the top 12 at Elite Invite, or top 12 at EUCF, missing a couple of players shouldn't harm them too much, as they are a team that is at the Elite Invite. So in terms of Bologna, they've already had, I believe, about 11 ranking games this year, 2 tournaments and 1 ranking match at the start of the season. So Bologna have actually won Tom's tourney last week, so I expect them to start this game as if it's, as you would imagine, about their 16th game of the season. And the shot deep here. And a slight misread by the offensive player. Good job by the defense, possibly drawing in the offensive receiver. I do expect Alba to be a team that possibly looks to hook it a bit more in this game. As I've said, they're missing a number of their core handlers. So getting the disc to the end zone in the least amount of throws possible is probably not a bad approach. Also, I think most teams, if you're playing the Italians, and you're probably not going to outplay them in terms of working the unders and breaking the mark, but the one thing you can usually match teams with is if you've got big fast guys and you can throw it far, you always have a chance. So might be a bit of a trend in the game that we see. So another turn there by Bologna, and I believe last week in the final of Tom's, their D-line had 3 chances to score against Mooncatchers, and I believe they converted all 3, but they have had, I believe, 4 chances in this game already to convert breaks, and 3 times they've turned over. So maybe not the exact same Bologna that was showing up in the final at Tom's tourney last week, but they have started getting the Ds earlier in the game. Alba looking for their first score here, and that's it. Alba get the hold at the second, possibly third time of asking, and that's kind of exactly the start they would want in their first game. Again, missing a number of players. As I've said, Bologna have already played a number of games this season, and just on Alba, their main focuses of this one, their coach has said it was just to try and focus on themselves. If they could get a top 6 finish, he said that would be a good result for the team this weekend. In terms of their history as a team from Scotland. I think they've been to EUCF 4 times. They have had 2 top 8 finishes, and I believe 2 times they've been in the top 12. So they're no stranger to playing these big games and playing teams at the level of Bologna. Also, some people might wonder if it's a good strategy to bring a slightly more development team to Elite Invite, but again, as the coach was telling me yesterday, they are going to have possibly 3 more ranking events this season, so they are not necessarily worried about the ranking so much in this one. As long as they can keep games close, they believe it's good experience for their players to play at this level, and I would agree with them. If I had 4 ranking tournaments, I would not be worried about one very competitive early season tournament. If anything, it's going to set up the depth of their squad. Deep shot there. And based on that one, I would guess that the wind is probably going a bit from left to the right. When that disc came out, it looked pretty good at the start, but it just seemed to pick up speed as it went down. So perhaps there's no wind, but I would think that one looked like it's a left to right breeze here. So poach in the lane. Bologna looking to stop the easy deep shots off the front straight away. It's very rarely a bad default to have your open side dump defender poaching the lane, as even if they throw that free pass, they're usually just going to the sideline. You want them anyway. Looks like I think they were giving the pick signals in the middle, possibly a foul, but pick signals, so I would suggest this was a pick. Two far side Bologna defenders playing poachy defense. Deep shot, nice grab. Player free in the end zone. And this Alba here looking for a break chance early in this game, and this really would be a big positive for them. Stall starting to get high. Hammer. And that's it. That's a break for Alba. This is probably the dream start. But it looks like there's a call. Potentially a stall out. And I think anytime it's a stall out and I'm watching the streams, you normally can go back. And one trend I'm noticing in Ultimate that I'm not a big fan of is almost every stall out on the stream, you go back, you watch, it's about 7 seconds, but I'm not sure on this one. Watching it live, maybe people in the chat can let me know, but it looks like it was a stall out. Comes back, get the reset off. Another stall out called here. Retracted. And I believe the scoreboard is incorrect. It is not 4-1. Yes. Score is 1-1. This is Alba looking for to get a break back here. Bologna started the game with a break. Alba looking here to get the break back straight away. Nice resets. Is he going to get there? Just out of reach. But positive start from Alba. Getting a chance, getting broken in the first point, holding the row, and then getting turns off the Bologna line, and having actually the disc in the end zone already comes back on a stall out. I think if you're the Alba team and this is your first game of the season, you would take this start. Nice. This is Kai Smith, one of their new players from France this year. Deep shot is up. It looks good. And that's a nice throw. I believe it's Santucci there getting it deep. And pretty long 0 point for Bologna there. I think they would have been hoping for a slightly cleaner one. But again, first game of the day. Players possibly getting used to the conditions, getting used to the other team. I'm not sure how many times these teams have played in recent tournaments, but on the EUF site, it just shows one previous meeting between these teams. So possibly a bit more getting used to each other in this game than some of the other teams at elite invite who might have played each other a bit more. I will try and always do spoiler alerts before I give updates on other games. So spoiler alert incoming for the other games in this round. In Chevron Mooncatchers, it is 3-0 Mooncatchers. In Gentle Jet Set, it's 3-3. And in Clapham Walled City, it is 4-4. I know at the start of that game, Walled City were up 2-0, but it's all tied at 4s now. So some pretty good games. All games are on the stream this weekend, I believe. So if there's a game that I've just said there and you think that one sounds more exciting and maybe there's a more exciting commentary voice, I do believe they are all on stream on Solid Sports. And you can see the effect there of sometimes having that open side dump poaching. It can just force teams to take slightly tighter throws than they wanted, and it gets pretty easy turn there off the Alba offense on first or second pass. Bologna now looking to get their second break of the game. And it's a nice inside break. Third call. I would guess the only call here that would make sense would be a pick, although I don't see any hand signals. The player did look pretty wide open though. And the goal is signalled. And that is Bologna's second break. 3-1 to Bologna. And Alba will be wishing that they had maybe converted that previous break chance. So maybe here on the replay now we will get a chance to see what the call was. Not entirely sure what the call was there. I do not think it would have been a pick. Perhaps the player heard another call on the field that was retracted and stopped. But I did not see a pick there on the goal, but there was no pick signaled, so perhaps it was a different call. So just because it's a big talking point with the new ranking this year, just a quick update on where teams are currently ranked, the top couple of teams. Mooncatchers are ranked at the top as number 1. They have 6 wins from 6 games. BFD La Fotta here, they have played 11 ranked games and they are in second place with 7 wins, 4 losses. Clapham, who are currently playing now as well, are in third place with 5 wins and 1 loss. So that is your top 3 right now. And after this weekend, all of the, I believe every team, another early turn early in the point from Alba here. And we'll see if Bologna can convert this one. But after this weekend, I believe the rankings will be pretty accurate. It's been an early season with a new system, and a lot of teams are still probably looking at the rankings thinking, oh, maybe that doesn't look right, but I do believe after Elite Invite, now that all the teams have played, the rankings will start to really take form, take shape, and we'll really start to see what teams are looking like and which teams need to do some improving for the rest of the season to have a chance at making the EUCF. Nice break dissecting the defense there. And this lovely quick give and go play. Fakes the hammer, throws the blade. And that is another break for Bologna. And what started off as pretty promising start from the Alba team, it's starting to go a little bit maybe in a direction they wouldn't be hoping for, as I believe that is the third Bologna break, second in a row. And I think the turnovers came from slightly unforced errors. So again, perhaps Alba missing a number of their key O-line players might be the reason for some of these early turns in the game. But as I've said, for Alba, this is a more development tournament. So I guess they would rather have these turnovers now and avoid them in 6 months' time if they get to the EUCF. So I would guess this was the timeout call by Alba, and I think that's a good shout by the coach. Time to get a little talk in, regroup with your guys, tell them about the positive start, try and get a bit of refocus, and come out and try and get some points on the board against what we have to say is a very informed and very strong La Fotta team. I don't think the coach will be too worried about a 4-1 start given the situation that he said his team is in. But obviously he would like to get a couple more points on the board, and it's usually a lot easier to do this towards the start of the game. Towards the end of the game, if things can get a little bit out of hand, sometimes the heads can drop a bit more. So let's see how Alba come out after this timeout. But right now, Bologna have seemed to cut down on the turnovers that they were having in their first 2 break chances, and it seems like Bologna are starting to find their stride in this game. So we're getting back underway here now. And let's see how Alba come out on this offensive point after a timeout. And again, Bologna looking, and again it's just a somewhat unforced error early in the stall. And not really the ideal way to start your offensive point after calling a timeout, but if you're Alba coach at this stage, I guess there's only so much you can do to say to your players, hey, we just got to focus and hit the wide open throws. I think most turnovers are handler errors as opposed to pressure by the defense. So sometimes, as bad as that might seem, that's one of the easiest things you can get your team to address. It's much harder to come out when your team is shut down on every cut and you're just being forced to throw it away to nobody. So again, if I'm the Alba coach here, it's more of a asking your team to refocus. And I guess if you're the La Fotta coach here, you can't really ask for much more after the first couple of points. There was a couple of turns on break chances, but I believe now it's been 3 break chances, 3 break scores in a row for the Italians. So let's see how the Alba offense can do here this time. Slightly better start than the last point. Nice flick blade. I think what we can say here on the last few points, again, the Alba players are looking pretty free, just like last time. Last time it was just throw errors to wide open players. No such turnovers in this point so far, and Alba have gotten the disc up to the halfway line. Deep shot. Ooh, attempted greatest, but just disc went a little bit too far, and unfortunate turnover. But again, these are probably the kind of shots, if you're Alba, you're not afraid of taking. I think the inside-out backhand there maybe makes this throw a little bit harder. Perhaps a slightly outside-in one makes it easier. I think the disc going over to the receiver's head there just makes it a little harder for him, especially when he's trying to go for a greatest and toe the line and get all those factors in. But we'll see if Alba can put some pressure on here and stop Bologna from getting out of this tight spot. I do believe Bologna have a couple of their more O-line players on this line, so I would expect the offense contested deep shot. And that's a nice D, and I think we can safely agree that there is quite some wind based on how that disc came out of the defender's hand. But this is the first point in 4 attempts where Bologna's D-line has failed to convert without a turn. So Alba getting their second chance here. And again, this constant poach of the open side dump by the Bologna team. Possibly a forced middle here. Yeah, and does seem to be a forced middle. Another possible deep shot on there, looks it off. Lovely inside break. Hammer, and that is a score for Alba, who get their second point of the game, and they really needed that to settle themselves down. Let's see how Alba will come out here now on defense. The last time they were on defense, I believe they had the disc in the end zone, but it came back for a stall out on a hammer. So let's see if they can go one better this time and actually convert their break. And spoiler alert for the other games in this group. Every other game is currently level. It's 4-4 Mooncatcher Chevron, 5-5 Gentle Jet Set, and 6-6 Clapham Wall City. So a lot of very exciting games going on in this round. And Alba coming down here on defense. Let's see what they can do. Poach under, couldn't quite get there. Player streaking deep, but unable to hit him. Looks like it's a flick force. Bologna just working it up the sideline. Deep shot. It's a bit of float. There's a number of players under it. And I believe the Bologna player did get a hand to it, and I believe that's a foul call. It did look like perhaps he should have caught it, so we'll see here on the replay if there was much bumping. Bit difficult to tell on this one, but looks like it's uncontested. And is that a quick score? And it's signaled as a goal, so uncontested foul call on the deep shot, and easy pop in for Bologna, who convert their 0 point. Alba may be slightly unfortunate there. They did have a number of players and they had the height mismatch under that disc, but the offensive player's position was enough to draw the foul. So Bologna with the hold. I guess I'd like to give a slight apology with my lack of names for this game. First game on the commentary. Just want to be sure I can don't get any names incorrect. I feel it's much worse if I give the incorrect name on a turnover. So apologies if people were hoping for a couple more of the names, but we might get there in time. It's a nice pull, deep, very deep pull. That's a great pull. First pull where we've seen one team get caught in their own end zone. Alba working it well here. This has looked like their best passage of offensive play so far. They're not looking. Deep shot goes up. And nice defense. We're getting on with it quickly here. Let's see if the Alba defense can recover. And good pressure by the defender there on the under. And a slightly overthrown reset there. And again, I think as much turns as Alba have had on the defenders applying pressure, I think most of it is just coming from their thrower execution. A lot of the time they do have players wide open, but they're just failing to hit the players. It's just a nice, easy, smooth score there for Bologna. I think what set this one up here was there was an attempted switch, but it was just called a little bit late. That allowed Bologna to move to this back to the break side a bit too easy, and from that point on, it's very hard to catch up on the defense. So it's the thing about those switches. Sometimes you get the switch right, it works out great. Sometimes you get a slightly late switch, and it ends up causing more problems than if you had not looked to do a switch in the first place. But again, first tournament of the year for Alba. Little things like this are going to add up, and against a team like Bologna, it makes sense that you have these many early mistakes that. So you could see there just a little ad for the In or Out show, which is going to be happening this Monday, and it will be giving you all the information you need to know about how the rankings have been affected after this tournament. And as I said earlier, I believe after this weekend, you're really going to start to get a good idea of which teams are looking like they're going to be taking part in EUCF this year and which teams are really in the fight to make it. So it's a pretty fun new format this year. I guess as myself in charge of one of the teams in the men's division, I kind of like the idea of not necessarily having one tournament determining whether you'll actually get to play at the event or not, and you can kind of plan your season out. If you think you're maybe one of these higher up teams, you can take more events, and you can even use events like this, such as what Alba are doing, knowing that later in the season you'll have more tournaments to catch up. And the ranking, if potentially you don't have some very strong results at this, but maybe if you're a team that's thinking you're in with a slightly harder time of making it to Euros, you can maybe focus on one or two events earlier in the season or later in the season, whatever floats your boat. And again, a number of I believe there's 3 teams playing at Elite Invite this weekend in the men's division that are not in the rankings yet. So whatever your team is in the rankings right now, I think it's fair to say most teams are going to drop 1 or 2 positions after this weekend, now that all the Elite Invite teams have finally taken part in ranking events. So again, looks like a forced middle here again, or possibly zone, sorry. Yeah, very much zone. Forced middle zone. And again, another just turnover on what seems like a pretty easy completion for the Alba offense. And we'll see if Bologna can convert here. And that's a really nice foot block. That's the kind of little boost you need, a bit of confidence for your offensive line, knowing they can get the disc back. And it looks like Bologna have set the zone again. And unfortunate turnover there. Not quite sure which way the wind is going here, but I feel like a couple of throws going in both directions seem to be hanging a bit, so potentially a bit of a crosswind there, possibly from the far side to the near side, because I think that flick throw, it looked like it was on, but it just looked like the player couldn't get the disc to come back in, so possibly a far sideline to near sideline win, just based on how that disc seemed to fly. And Bologna here with another chance to get a break. Nice inside. Has to be one of the nicest looking throws, is the inside flick break. Unfortunately, it's not one of the throws I possess or use that much, but it's one thing you just really have to admire when you're watching the Bologna players especially. And that's another break there, and that is half-time. 8-2 for La Fotta. Pretty ideal start for La Fotta, I would say. And Alba, they're going to have some talking to do at half-time to try and get a little bit more focus on some of those throws. And here we get a look at this nice foot block again. Oh, sorry, thought it was the foot block. But yeah, I think if you're the Alba coach, it's just about having a talk, regrouping, focusing on the throwings. As the coach said to me yesterday, they just want to focus on themselves, and I think that is the number one thing that they could do right now, is just focus on themselves and not worry about the scoreboard. Just remember that you have a team that has made it to the higher levels of EUCF multiple years, and that you deserve to be here. You're at this level, and sometimes you just have a bit of a sluggish start to the season. This might be one of those games, but again, better to have it at this stage of the season. Better to have the video footage of it for analyzing it later. And yeah, we'll take a brief pause here for halftime.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my! Somehow they do it!
And welcome back to the second half here of the Elite Invite first round in the men's division between BFD La Fotta and Alba. Score is 8-2 to La Fotta, who have come out in the first half pretty dominant fashion. I would say they're probably about 50% on their conversion rates on the first time, every time they've got a turnover. And most of those turnovers are coming from Alba, who are just making throwing mistakes as opposed to doing a whole lot else wrong. But if you're making throwing mistakes at this level, you're going to get punished. So hopefully they've had a chance to regroup and they can come out here a little bit stronger in the second half. Again, some updates. Again, spoiler alert from the other rounds in the men's division. In Chevron Mooncatchers, it's 7-5 to Mooncatchers. In Gentle Jet Set, it's 7s. And in Clapham Walled City, it's 8-7 to Walled City. And again, all those games are on stream this weekend, all on the Solid Sport. And just while we have some time, the first round of games today was in the women's division. So if you've not watched those games and you're planning on watching them later, again, here's some more spoilers. But Jet Set Love 13-14 to Mooncup. So Mooncup win that one in an all-Belgian affair. Iceni versus Jinx Midnight. Jinx Midnight 15-11. And Yaka versus Box Vienna 15-8 to Yaka. And then in what might be considered a slight surprise for some people who maybe aren't close to those teams, East Block 15-13 over BFD Shout. So East Block with a nice win there to start their season over the currently top-ranked women's team. Right back to the action here. Bologna coming out, starting this half in offense. And that's a nice block. That's exactly how you want to start the second half if you're on Alba. Shut down all the downfield options, shut down the dump, and then you get basically a double hand block on the force. So let's see if they can convert here. Alba have not had that many chances since the first couple of points. And is he going to get there? I think he's just out of bounds. It's a bit unfortunate, but again, a positive start by Alba to start this second half, showing that their D-line is able to come out and get blocks. And it wasn't just a block on a poor throw. It was basically 10 seconds of good defense where this shut down all the Bologna options. Bologna here stuck in their own end zone. And just about in. Deep shot. And that's another. And catch your D's, as they say. I think the wind just held that one up for Kai's mate. And that is a hold for Bologna. But what should have been 2 D points for Alba. They got the first one. The second one, they get a big hand to it. Just unfortunate that the defender wasn't able to hold on to it or not get away from the second bid. But again, if you're the Bologna coach, you're going to be happier with this point. You've shown you can get the turns, multiple turns. I say multiple turns, they only got one, but I think we can agree that this one, you would normally hope this would be a D. And offensive player, nice reaction just to get that second bid. And the follow-up play by the Bologna player. So again, all events at the Elite Invite are ranking events. So if you're the Alba team in this position, you would be hoping to get a couple more points on the board. Although, given that their coach has told me that they're going to have possibly 4 ranking events this year, I don't think they're going to be too worried about one potentially lopsided event to start. But they'll be hoping that this wouldn't be constant in all their games this weekend. But again, they are playing one of the teams with the most amount of games already this season, who is already one of the best teams. So maybe as a coach you might actually say this is the ideal first game for you if you're Alba. Debatably the top team in your group, although I do think this is Group B with Mooncatchers as well. So it's debatable whether you would say there's any slightly easier games in this one. But I think if you're going to start a tournament with a younger roster, sometimes it's better to get the game you might struggle the most in as the first game, figure out some things, get that out of the way, and then potentially have a better chance at really pushing it in the next 2 games. But again, this is the Elite Invite. There are no easy games, so you just got to take them as they come. I'm going to guess there's probably a pick call here. This goes back because the players believe it affected the play. So it seems like the Bologna defense is playing slightly tighter on the dumps now in the last few points I've noticed. And deep shot goes up. And that is a nice score for Alba. Followed up by the second goal into the net spike. And again, I think that's going to be one of the ways Alba can look to get back into this game. They do have, as I've said, they're missing a number of their main O-line handlers, but they do have a number of their strong cutters, and they have got players who can put the disc deep. And I think that's Andrew Dick there with the score. And again, he's one of the main receivers for this Alba team. So let's see how Alba can come down here on defense. On their last defensive point, they had one turnover and they got their hands to what should have been a second turnover. So let's see if they can keep this pressure up here and possibly get a break. Looks like a nice pull. And that is about as good of a pull as you can hope for to start a point. And let's see if Bologna can work the disc out of the back of their end zone with very little disc space to go backwards. And nice catch on the low grab there. They get the disc just out of their end zone. And now they have a bit more space to work with. But again, this is deep shot up. Wide open catch. And that's the easy pop in for the score. But again, that point start, great work by Bologna there to get the disc from the very back of their own end zone and the length of the field. Pretty much the ideal start for Alba to start that point, trapping them at the back of the end zone. So that pull can be a bit of a weapon if you can get that consistently. So, well, they mightn't have got hands to the disc this time. It's a pretty good start to the point by Alba there in terms of applying more defensive pressure than it looks like they've put on in some of the previous points. So it's good to see that despite the score, the Alba defense is seemingly getting better. Let's see if this pull can match the last pull from the Alba team. Reaches the end zone, but it's a little bit shorter, so. Nice throw to get off the sideline there. And the lane poaches are starting to appear now again by La Fotta. And just as I say it, they start getting tight again. So up line, nice grab. Scottish player deep if he can. Decides not to throw it. I think the hooker in me is, every time I see a player deep, I'm expecting the hook to come, but then I realize there are other people who are a bit more solid with their decision making than I am. It seems like the La Fotta defense is looking to play much more tighter defense in this half on the handlers. I think in the first half it looked like they were poaching a lot more. Possibly I was just missing that it might have been some zone points, but it does seem like they're not looking to give any easy options to the Alba offense now. And so far it seems to be a decision that's benefiting the Alba offense. Perhaps having and that's a score for Alba. And perhaps Bologna will go back to playing the slightly more poachy defense on Alba after that point, hoping that they can get Alba to get back to basically turning over on easy throws. Seems that as soon as the pressure was applied and Alba had to focus a bit more and grind a small bit more, their offense actually started looking a lot better. So I guess from an Alba perspective, you'll be hoping that the La Fotta guys keep coming down playing tight defense, because while there was a couple of tight spots, that was definitely one of the better looking Alba points so far. Not just because they scored, but it did look like they were creating more space for themselves. And let's see if they can follow up their last two defensive points, where I would say if I was an offensive player in the last 2 points where Alba were playing defense, I would feel like Alba had put me in difficult positions. So there was the point where they got the hand block and a touch on this deep, and then a pull at the back of the end zone. Let's see how this pull fares compared to the last one. That's another really nice pull. And they start with Bologna in the end zone again. Great pressure here. Defenders slightly getting each other's way there, but again, making Bologna look dump and go backwards. This is much better defense from Alba than we've seen in previous points. I say previous, I mean excluding the last 3. Deep shot, nice catch. And it's a 2-on-1 here. Pretty clinical conversion of end zone offense there once Bologna got the disc away from their own end zone. But the start of that point again by Alba looked pretty good, but once that deep shot came off, there was no recovery, and really nice offense, really nice deep shot. I thought he might actually have slightly misread it on offense, but he decided he didn't want to milk it towards the end zone. He just wanted to take it down nice and early and get the disc moving again quickly, and it worked out nicely for them. In terms of the ranking, I think it might be a bit ambitious to say that Bologna would be looking for this game to end up at the end of the season being a blowout victory, but to avoid a blowout, Alba would need to get to 7 points. So La Fotta might be trying to put the pressure on here. Regardless, I think towards the end of the season, Alba are going to be one of the teams higher up in the rankings. So the chance for Bologna here to get a very big victory over them when they're maybe not quite at their full strength, that is something, if I was the Bologna coach, I would be really pushing hard here. This could turn out to be a very big result in terms of the ranking towards the end of the season, if Bologna can get a couple more breaks here. And for Alba, I think, as I said, it's a slightly development squad at this tournament. Every point you can get against a team like Bologna in the form they're in right now, it's a very big confidence boost to you going forward. And I think if I'm the Alba coach here, I'm hoping to try and win the rest of this game. So I'm trying to at least get to 8 points to trade out the last few points of this game. Anything more than that would be a big plus, I think. And just a misthrow. Disc slips out of the offensive player's hands. It's a bit unfortunate. And Bologna will have the disc around the brick mark. And we can hear the Alba sideline saying no around, so my guess is there's an inside break coming here. It's how it always goes. I know this myself as a coach. You stop the around with the dump, with the force, you stop the up line, and that inside break always seems to come off. But as a defense, that's kind of the throw you would take. And speaking of insides, nice inside break there to end the point for Bologna. And it looks like a timeout here again. So 12-4 to Bologna.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my, somehow they do it!
Relax, hai visto? Sto cazzo! Sei diventato con anziano, Tato. Per quale facevi il test? Questo l'anno non è invecchiato. Di cosa, vecchio?
And we're back here now with about 20 minutes to go in this game, unless Bologna can get to 15 before that point, or barring a miraculous Alba comeback. In terms of games going on at this stage, the other games, every game very tight in all the other matches at this stage. Chevron Mooncatchers, it's 10-9 to Mooncatchers. Gentle and Jet Set is 10-10, and Clapham have taken the lead against Wall City 10-9. So again, three really tight games going on in the on the other fields.
Finally, the king has the kingdom.
Nice pull, putting Alba in their end zone. Deep shot straight off, and we're seeing the open side dump lane poachers again by the Bologna defense. Not this time though. It's a really nice upline throw. Deep shot, player wide open. And you're pretty happy with that if you're an Alba supporter right now. Very nice passage of play, wide open player downfield. And I think this throw here on the sideline to get the upline cut, this flick here, this is what really kind of took the defense apart, and really nice throw deep as well. Couldn't really ask for a better start after this timeout. I'm not sure who actually called the last timeout, but if you're an Alba coach and you call that timeout, this is more what you want to see from your team.
Liam, Secco!
So the Alba defense coming out here again. They have not managed to get a break yet. I believe they've had 2, maybe 3 break chances this game, but they have been unable to convert them. So I think if you're an Alba coach now, one thing you'd really like is just to get maybe the 1 break in this game. Maybe you won't mount a massive comeback, but one big positive they could take away from this game is if they could generate 1 break. But that's not going to be that easy. It's going to get there. Nice layout grab. Oh, just not able to hold on to it. Disc slightly too far. Nice bid. And this is the break chance that Alba have been looking for. And I recognize, and they shoot it deep straight away. And the offensive player just jumps a little bit too early. I think maybe he's considering the fact that he's got a defender coming down with him. Defender has a slight height mismatch there. Not mismatch, but slightly taller defender. Sometimes you just got that feeling you want to jump up early and go and get it, and unfortunately missed the disc. But again, if you're an Alba player, that's a positive sign. You had the player free, and it was just a slight mistake on your team's part that is the reason for not getting that break. So Bologna going back the other way again now. Tight defensive pressure. I think there's a pick. Looks like we're getting the hand signals for pick. Not sure if that pick actually helps the Alba defense there, as it looked like they were all pretty tight, starting to apply some pressure there. So gives the Bologna offense a chance to reset. Another deep shot. This one looks better. And 2 Bologna players reaching for the disc. And looks like it's coming back. I think the Bologna players almost caused each other to drop the disc there. But unfortunately, not sure what the call is. I'm not seeing the hand signals, but yeah, okay, there we go. There's one of them doing hand signals, pick calls, so thanks for the replay. Clarifying what the call was. I missed it on the first one. Deep shot goes up. It's going to be contested. Is it going to be in bounds? And that's another turn for Alba. I think that throw was slightly too far. It made it very difficult for an offensive player to catch the disc there. Good pressure by the defense though, just to make sure that the offensive player couldn't throw that line, because I do think if he had caught it, he would have been able to keep it in. So Alba with another chance to get a break here. Stall's getting high, managed to get it out. Nice inside, player streaking deep, looks it off. And this is better by Alba. Really starting to work it up the field now. Really tight pressure on almost every cut by the Bologna players. Alba right in front of the end zone now. And it's just an unfortunate turnover. I think we have to credit the Bologna defense there with putting on a lot of pressure. Every single cut and every single pass in that passage of play seemed to be pretty contested. And the Alba offense just got timeout called by Bologna. But again, a slightly unfortunate turnover there by Alba. But again, good defensive pressure by Bologna, forcing Alba into looking for those inside break shots. But again, if you're an Alba player, you're going to take some positives away from this. You've had 2 turnovers. It's been the closest you've looked all game, bar 1 point to actually getting a break. And as we said with the new EUCF ranking, every single point counts. So pushing on, looking for those breaks late in the game could be worth something later in the season. Again, I do expect Alba to be a team that's going to end up qualifying for the EUCF and not have to worry too much about the ranking system come their last tournaments of the season. But the earlier you can lock in those safe bids, the earlier you can lock them in, the more time you can spend to focusing on peaking at EUCF. So I'm sure as much as they want, Alba want to keep these games as close as possible so that they put a bit less pressure on themselves later in the season. And just before we come back in here after the timeout, another little update on the other games in this round. Every other game is 12-11. Chevron have taken the lead against Mooncatchers, Gentle have the lead against Jet Set, and Wall City have retaken the lead against Clapham. So every other game right now, 1 point game. Nice catch there by the Bologna player. So just clarification out there, if it's contact, the player should be dropping the stall. If it's a foul call, the play will stop. I think there was a bit of uncertainty there between the offensive and defensive player what the actual call was. But I believe it's if there's a minor infraction by the person on the force, the stall drops and you can keep playing offense. And if it's a second one, you would reset it. So shoots deep straight away, and that's just a lovely throw. And no chance for the defense there. Really was a great throw. Takes the both defenders out of the game. If that's a deep shot straight down the line, the defender's in good position. But sometimes when you have high-level throwers, they can just put this to the place where the defenders just have no chance. And that was an example of that throw there. The one place on the field where the defenders basically had no chance to catch up. So again, I don't see it ending up as a blowout result for Bologna at the end of the season. I think Alba are going to move their way up the rankings, and a win like this is actually going to help Bologna later in the season. But if this was one where they were looking for the blowouts, Bologna are going to be looking to get 2 more scores here before Alba hits 7. So both coaches here, they might be looking at this as a game to 2 right now, if you were considering the rankings. Huge bid by the defender. Looks like there's a foul call on that. On first glance, it looked like it was more of a foul, but on the replay, it looked like the defensive player might have actually been able to avoid some of the contact. But again, from here, it's very hard to tell. I think only the two players involved in the call really know there, but it looked pretty close, and it was a very good play by the defense. I think the offensive player could have potentially done slightly more to box out the player, keep him out of the way, but looks like it's an uncontested foul. Deep shot up, straight over the defense. And that's a nice offensive hold for Alba. And they're going to get one last chance. Well, I say one last chance, but if they get this one, it will be their first break. So they're going to get one last chance here at trying to get a break against this Bologna offense. And as we said, in terms of the ranking, both sides will be looking at this as a potentially very big point. And again, just because all the other games are so tight, another round of spoilers for the other games. Every game is now level in the other three matches in the men's division. Chevron Mooncatchers 12-12, Gentle Jet Set 12-12, Clapham Wall City 13-13. So again, you're spoiled for choice really with all the streams this weekend at Elite Invite. You might even potentially get 3 Universe Point games on this round of streams. Maybe not 4, but we won't rule it out as an impossibility, as Alba here are looking to get their first break of the game. Good pressure here on the dump defense. Nice throw to get out of it. Alba defense slightly caught out here. There's been a couple of switches and players are just trying to figure out who their matchups are. And Bologna wastes no time in taking advantage of that transition between the Alba switches. Quickly move the disc up and score. And while it's not a universe point in terms of who wins this game, ranking-wise, this next point would be considered a universe point this season in certain situations. So again, at Elite Invite, I don't think there's going to be such a thing as blowouts. There's only going to be massive wins that massively help your season. For anyone who maybe doesn't fully understand the blowout rule, my best understanding is if you win, it can't hurt you if you blow out the other team, but it can help you. So if Alba ends up being a very competitive team near the end of the season, and if Bologna were to blow out in this game, the game would count for Bologna because it would just be considered a very impressive result. And the blowout games, again, from my understanding, the blowout games don't count if the blowout game would actually hurt you as the team who won the game. So no matter what, when you're the losing team, the blowout result counts for you. And if you're the winning team and the blowout would actually help your ranking because it's such an impressive blowout against a good team, then it counts. But if it's a team that you beat by, we'll say 11 points, but that's actually still not considered one of your better results, then it would be cancelled and it would not count. So again, blowouts can only help your season if you're the winning team. Hopefully I've explained that correctly and it makes sense, but it is something I think a couple of people are a bit confused about. I know my team had one blowout result this year so far at our spring tour. And the game doesn't count because it would actually have been considered our worst result. But anyway, back to this game here now. Alba playing here. Offense, slightly better movement of the disc here. They've got the disc. Shoots it right in front of the end zone here. Scuba, back corner. And if this was one where Alba were really pushing for the ranking, this would have been a very big score for them. Bologna might be slightly frustrated that they weren't able to get the blowout result here. But again, 2 minutes left in this game, 14-7. And Alba will be pretty happy with that one. And I think as an Alba coach here, every minute from now is a plus. Every point from now is a plus. And again, just because the other games are so tight right now, spoilers, none of the games are over yet, I believe, but in Chevron Mooncatchers it's 14-13 Chevron, in Gentle Jet Set it's 13-13, and in Clapham Wall City it's 13-13. So again, hard to exactly know how each team is approaching this tournament, but with the rankings, I think most teams are looking to just go for it, probably in nearly every game this season. So I don't think there's too many teams holding too much back right now. So I think the other results in this really just do show how competitive the top teams are in the men's division this year. Ooh. Defender just sees that chance a little bit late, and wide open player deep after the poach. And that is the game for Bologna, 15-7. And that's a pretty impressive victory for Bologna. I think Alba will be looking at this thinking early on they had just a couple too many throwing mistakes. It could have easily been a couple points closer. I would guess both teams are going to come out of this game relatively happy with this as their game one. It looked at the start like Alba could have been in slightly more trouble, but they did manage to get a good few scores on the board. And Bologna run away with the game. And these two teams in their next games, it will be Bologna versus Mooncatchers, and Chevron will be playing Alba later. So thank you for joining us on this stream. This has been John Dock on my first live commentary, so hopefully didn't hurt your ears too much, and we will see you at the next one. Thanks.
know